तो जब बायर डिसीजन लेता है वो इंडिपेंडेंट होता है या आपको लगता है दीज थिंग्स आल्सो इन्फ्लुएंस इन डिसीजन मेकिंग?
A lot of times people get influenced by their friends and family because किसी ने लिया है तो वो लेना चाहते हैं. वो FOMO होता है ना, fear of missing out.
So do you think the buyers actually acknowledge your efforts towards this process?
16 visits have happened and he's still not finalized. That's fine.
So how do you create that balance?
We are no gods. We also make mistakes.
Most people think real estate is about showing options, negotiating prices, and closing deals. But over time, I've realized that the real challenge isn't selling a property, it's helping someone make a decision they won't regret later. Because today, the buyer is no longer struggling to find options, they are struggling to filter them. There is too much information, too many opinions, and too many voices trying to influence one decision. And somewhere in that noise, clarity gets lost. That's exactly why conversation like this matter, because the real estate journey today is less about access and more about interpretation. This isn't a space where we talk about inventory and numbers. This is where we talk about decisions, behavior, and the reality behind how this market actually works. Because the future of real estate will not be defined who sells more, but by who guides better. And today's conversation is exactly about that shift. Joining me today is someone who represents this new direction in the industry, where the focus is not just on closing deals, but building a structured approach to decision making. He's someone who has positioned himself or his platform around clarity, process, and long-term thinking, especially at a time when the market is filled with noise and fast-moving narratives. Through the Realty Tree, he has built a system that looks at real estate not just as a product, but as a decision framework where every step is more intentional, more informed, and more aligned with the buyer's actual needs. What stands out is his ability to step back from the typical urgency driven approach and instead focus on helping clients and see the bigger picture. Please welcome the face behind the Realty Tree, Mr. Tarun Bhatia. Great to have you here, Tarun.
Thank you, Ankur. Thank you for having me here.
So, Tarun, let's start with the bigger picture. Do you think the role of a channel partner today is still the same as it was 5 to 7 years ago, or do you think there is a clear shift in expectations?
There's a clear shift, Ankur. Earlier, it was only a transactional role. Now it is more towards advisory. About 5 to 7 years old back, we used to have inventories, we used to have leads. Our main job was to match them and do the transactions. Now, that has completely changed. There is so much information available to the clients. So when they come to us, they are much better prepared. They have gone through so many YouTube videos, they have gone through so many threads of conversations. They have seen the plans, they have seen the influencers talk about projects. So when they come to us, they are not looking for more information. They are looking for advisory. They are looking for someone to cut through the noise, who can guide them on what suits them best. So over these 5 to 7 or 10 years, that has completely changed. Earlier, the measurement of success was how many transactions you do. Now it is how many clients you are able to retain and references from those clients, because then it's a perpetual business for an advisory firm. So yes, I agree, it's completely changed.
So, Tarun, you just spoke about the information which is very easily accessible these days. पर आपको लगता है ये इन्फॉर्मेशन इतना आसानी से जो मिल जाता है, ये डिसीजन मेकिंग बायर के लिए आसान कर देता है या एक्चुअली में कन्फ्यूजन क्रिएट कर देता है?
See, I'm all for detailed information, but sometimes there is too much noise. And I have realized that a lot of our clients get confused. I'll give you an example. Today, if you have some symptoms about your health, आप Google करोगे, तो Google may give you 5 different issues you may be having.
Correct.
But when you go to a doctor and he sees you well, he checks you, he asks you the right questions, he'll be able to tell you what is the issue in your body. Similarly, you may be listening to so many people on the net, you may be gathering information from so many sources. But when you come to us, when you come to a advisory firm, they will understand the requirement and then give you options. So I feel information is good, but too much of information confuses the client.
अगर हम आज इन्फ्लुएंस की बात करें तो सोशल मीडिया इज़ देयर, पीयर प्रेशर इज़ देयर, मार्केट बज़ और मार्केट हाइप अबाउट सम स्पेसिफिक प्रोडक्ट्स आर ऑलवेज देयर. तो जब बायर डिसीजन लेता है वो इंडिपेंडेंट होता है ऑफ ऑल दीज फैक्टर्स, या आपको लगता है दीज थिंग्स ऑल्सो इन्फ्लुएंस इन डिसीजन मेकिंग?
No, no, over the last 5-7 years, these things are majorly impacting buying decisions. A lot of times people get influenced by their friends and family because किसी ने लिया है तो वो लेना चाहते हैं. वो FOMO होता है ना, fear of missing out. Sometimes too many influencers are talking about the same thing, so they feel that maybe this is the next, growth corridor. They don't realize that a lot of these influencers are paid to talk about such growth corridors.
True.
So over the years, a lot of decision is influenced by what they see on social media or what happens in their family and friends. Yeah.
So Tarun, when you actually meet the customer for the first time, maybe he could be a buyer or he could be an investor. आप ऐसी कौन सी चीज़ है जो पहले जानने की कोशिश करते हैं बिफोर यू इवन पिच दी प्रोडक्ट टू द कस्टमर?
सर पिचिंग तो बहुत बाद में आता है. हमारा एक प्रोसेस है हमारी कंपनी में काम करने का. फर्स्ट इज़ द डिस्कवरी फेज. कल को आप मेरे पास आएँ, आई हैव टू अंडरस्टैंड के व्हाट इज़ योर रिक्वायरमेंट, व्हाट इज़ द लाइफ स्टाइल यू आर लुकिंग एट, व्हाट इज़ द फाइनेंशियल contribution you want to put in the project. It's not about the budget. It's about you may have a lot of money, but how much do you want to align to this particular asset?
True.
What is the requirement you have? So discovery phase is where, and it could be that we may meet a client 2-3 times just for the discovery phase, because I don't want to offer him something which is not relevant to him and waste his time. At the moment, we may be working on 150 projects, or I may have inventory of 2,000 properties, but I just can't put it to you. Na? I need to understand के क्या चाहिए आपको. So discovery phase is what we do. All that information is put into our CRM software. We use I'm a big fan of that software. It's called Monday.com. The AI only will curate options on the projects and the inventory what we have. We look at those options, go through them, and then pitch them to you. Once maybe you will shortlist a few of them. We discuss on those options. Then site visits happen, and we take it from there. Once the site visits happen, then that gives us a great insight as to what clicks for you and what does not. Because sometimes I am feeling in a way that this may click for you, but when you go to the site, we feel we see your reactions. We are able to make out that okay, more of this will work or less of this will work.
But do you think the buyers actually acknowledge your efforts towards this process?
So that's also a journey of discovery for them. When they meet us for the first time, they treat us like a normal, at par with everyone else. But the more time they spend with us, they start appreciating that the time we are putting in for their benefit. At the moment, our team is working with a client. Already about 16 visits have happened over the last 2 months, 8-9 weeks, and he's still not finalized. That's fine. We give them all the time. It's a big decision for them. But now we start appreciating that, see, nobody spends this much time. Because we are not charging any extra brokerage for all this. When you go to a doctor 10 times, you may pay him at least 5-6 times.
True.
You go to a consultant in some other field, you pay them for every meeting. We only get paid when a transaction happens, not for spending time.
True.
So, in business sense, if we are spending more time with you, it is not really in our best interest financially, but it actually is.
Yeah.
Because once we get that client, I'm sure whenever they get any references, they're going to pitch our name.
True. That's true. Totally agree with that. So, in a fast-moving market like Gurgaon, what are the most, common mistakes buyers usually do or they make?
See, the biggest mistake what they do is homework on the developer. sometimes when a new developer comes in without a track record, they go with the glossy brochure, they go with the sound of the sound in the social media, the noise in the social media of the influencers. So we always educate our clients that first deep dive into the developer. He may be the first time into this industry, but what is the background? So that we do for our clients, and we only pitch developers whom we are confident of. One is overcommitting. In the heat of the moment, you know financially, suppose you are comfortable with 5 crores. Don't take that 10 crore jump, assuming that you'll be able to, somehow manage or wiggle out of the transaction by flipping it. If it works in your favor, very good. But if it doesn't, you'll be putting a lot of financial pressure on yourself. So you have to be, and I'll say mostly a lot of clients are conscious about their how much they want to commit, but still some people they go overboard. Uh, Third is FOMO. Don't have the fear of missing out.
Yeah.
Understand you need and buy a property, not because your neighbor has bought you should buy it. You have to understand what is your need, and always have a 3-year horizon. That okay, this property will it work for you in 3 years? Sometimes people are buying properties which they don't even need for 10 years, or sometimes they are buying a property which they will outgrow in a year. So these are some of the common mistakes I feel.
तरुण, अगर हम आपके एडवाइजरी लेंस से बात करें तो हाउ डू यू डिफरेंशिएट बिटवीन रियल ग्रोथ और मार्केट हाइप? रियल ग्रोथ वर्सेस मार्केट हाइप पता कैसे करें? क्योंकि हम जब भी मार्केट में जाते हैं या रियल एस्टेट मार्केट में, हमेशा ना एक जार्गन यूज़ होता है, दिस इज़ नेक्स्ट हॉट माइक्रो मार्केट। वो आपके एडवाइजरी लेंस से कैसे पता करें कि ये एक्चुअली में रियल ग्रोथ है यहाँ पर, या दिस इज़ जस्ट अ मार्केट हाइप?
See, data is the new oil. That doesn't lie. Once we get to know of a micro market, we deep dive into the data. What is happening in that? What is the infrastructure around that place? Not ke there's a newspaper article saying ये road बनना है, but what is it about? Have the land acquisitions been done for that road? Are the tenders out? Is the government serious about it? Has it been passed in the assembly? So infrastructure we are very, very particular about. And then what is happening in terms of transactions? Now, every agreement is registered. It's available, that data is available. We work with some research firms and we take data from them. So they supply us data in terms of number of registrations done. So data tells you a story that this is happening, this is not. Sometimes the growth happens before the data is showing that. So with the experience we have, we actually are able to understand what is happening, what is not. A lot of clients fall for the market hype. That is where we clear the noise for them.
Tarun, there is always an urgency in our real estate market. At least sales में तो रहती है. हमेशा हमें सुनने मिलता है, आज हम किसी से मिले और कल से प्राइस बढ़ जाएगा, इन्वेंट्री बिक जाएगी. तो एज एन एडवाइज़र वो अर्जेंसी और वो क्लैरिटी जब आप एडवाइस करते हैं कस्टमर, वो कैसे मेंटेन करते हैं? क्योंकि आपके ऊपर भी प्रेशर रहता हो, यार प्राइस बढ़ जाएगा, डेवलपर बोल रहा है, और या मे बी इन्वेंट्री विल गेट सोल्ड आउट. सो फ्रॉम योर लेंस अगर मैं बात करूं तो आपके लिए भी मुश्किल होता होगा कि यार वो बैलेंस कैसे क्रिएट करूँ कि कस्टमर को ये भी ना लगे कि मेरे ऊपर प्रेशर डाल रहा है, और ये भी बताना ज़रूरी है कि हो सकता है रियलिटी में भी प्राइस बढ़ रहा हो और इन्वेंट्री माइट गेट सोल्ड आउट. सो हाउ डू यू क्रिएट दैट बैलेंस?
बहुत डिफिकल्ट है ये. It is very, very difficult. But there are certain genuine cases where actually you understand कि price बढ़ेगा, या if the client delays, he'll not get the inventory. So there you push the client. कि if you are clear, in that also, we don't push the client if he's not prepared. Our first job is to prepare him, to educate him. If he is clear that he wants to go for the property, and if we feel there's a genuine urgency in terms of कि उनको inventory नहीं मिलेगी उनकी पसंद की, या rate बढ़ जाएगा, then we push the client.
Okay.
But a lot of times we don't push the client. That is why some clients ask us कि यार तू फ़ोन नहीं करता, तू बोलता ही नहीं कि अभी ले लो. A lot of realtors are calling me कि आज लो, अभी चेक दो, 1 घंटे में चेक दो, तुम करते ही नहीं. But where the genuine cases, we definitely follow, we push the client, provided he's ready. And where we feel that there is time or the client is not yet ready, we don't push them. But it's a very, very difficult thing. Sometimes we have foregone business
Oh,
because the rate actually went up
oh.
where we thought कि नहीं पड़ेगा.
Yeah, yeah.
So we are no gods. We also make mistakes. So रह गया. That's what experience is.
You are right actually. तरुण, मैं आपको जितना मुझे याद है, मैं आपको 2009 से जानता हूँ और मैंने आपको काफ़ी क्लोजली देखा है और ऑब्जर्व किया है. यू हैव अ वेरी स्ट्रक्चर्ड वे ऑफ वर्किंग. यू आर वेरी कस्टमर सेंट्रिक. यू थिंक अबाउट ऑल द स्टेक होल्डर्स हु आर इन्वॉल्व. मैं हमेशा क्यूरियस रहता हूँ कि जो ये प्रोसेस ड्रिवन रियल एस्टेट एडवाइजरी कंपनीज होती हैं, ऑन ग्राउंड में कैसी दिखती हैं? मतलब एग्जैक्टली होता क्या है, बिहाइंड द सीन्स क्या होता है एक्चुअली में?
So a lot of hard work goes behind the scenes. As I had mentioned earlier, हमारा एक process है. When a client comes to us, discovery phase, then curation, then understanding whether those curated listings are in line with the requirement or not, then site visits, then paperwork. A lot of people, a lot of brokers will stop working when the client signs the check and gives the application form to the developer office. हमारा वहाँ मेन काम शुरू होता है. We are right from the discovery till he finalizes, till they get the possession. We are there. Even beyond possession, we help our clients to move in case they have any requirements. We help them till the client tells me, "यार, thank you very much, मेरा काम हो गया आपसे." We don't leave the client. We are there for a BBA registration, for possession handover, for possession pre-checklist. We're always there for the client. तो process behind the scenes है कि first of all there has to be a system in place. You and your team should be clear करना क्या है. A lot of times people don't know कि होना क्या है. And we rely on some very advanced tools, advanced CRM systems like I mentioned Monday.com. For the internal team we use a software called Slack, which is a great tool for communication. So that gives you a thread for every communication. अगर suppose अंकुर जी के बारे में बात हो रही है with one of my team members, तो उसका अलग thread बना हुआ है. In WhatsApp, what happens is in WhatsApp communication, everything gets jumbled up into one. Slack gives you the option of doing different conversations for different things. So for a transaction, there are different conversation. For a site visit, different conversation. For inventory, different conversation. For a lead, different conversation. So you are able to pinpoint as to what you want to, interact with your team. So communication with the team हमारे यहाँ बहुत clear है. CRM system is robust, and we are very, very client centric. Our first motto is the interest of the client is supreme.
True.
So that is the guiding force behind how we work. So once that is the guiding force, everything will, align accordingly.
करेक्ट. तरुण, कई बार हम कस्टमर से मिलते हैं तो उसकी जो एस्पिरेशंस होती हैं और जो बजट होते हैं वो कभी मैच नहीं करते. मतलब नॉट मेजॉरिटी बट some of the times their aspirations and budget won't match, but they won't admit it. So how do you align those realities with the practicalities which are actually involved?
Again, a very difficult situation, and you have to handle it with care. उनकी गलती नहीं है.
Correct.
They are in their mind, maybe in their mind they realize that this is what their budget is and they'll be able to get it. So what is the best way to counter it is to educate them. You share details of transactions happening. You share, so it's very simple in the US, where they follow a MLS system, multiple listing services, where any pin code, you will be able to give them the data on last 10, 20, 30 transactions, which can tell them, okay, you are asking for a golf course apartment, a 3,000 square feet apartment on golf course for, say, 5 crores. So you show them data that, okay, the last 10 transactions are maybe 10 crores, 12 crores, whatever. I'm just taking a figure.
Yeah.
Once you share hard data with them, they can't, they stop being in that denial mode.
Right.
And they start aligning, okay, then they ask you, okay, if not this, what is the next best option? Sometimes you just go a couple of kilometers deep inside and you'll be able to give them maybe in their requirement. So it's a difficult thing. So first of all, you should be aware of what options are there in the market which could align with their requirement. But first of all, you should be aware of what their requirement is. Sometimes people come to us with a wrong requirement itself. They need a 3 bedroom, but they're asking for a 5. Then you ask them, what is the need for that 5? I mean, in case the family is increasing or they plan to have something in the house. And then they start aligning, okay, no, I don't think 5 is required for the moment, let's go with 3. So, a lot of things happen. But again, a difficult thing. Sometimes people, they move on, they say, no, I think you are not the right person. And they come back to you later that, no, what you said was correct. So, it all happens.
अंडरस्टूड। तरुण, जब हम घर खरीदने की बात करते हैं, इनफैक्ट आजकल का जो बायर है, दे जस्ट डोंट वांट टू बाय अ होम, दे ऑल्सो वांट सर्टेन लाइफस्टाइल अटैच टू इट। तो आपके हिसाब से एक स्ट्रॉन्ग रेजिडेंशियल इकोसिस्टम क्या है बेसिकली आपके पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू से?
आई थिंक अ स्ट्रॉन्ग इकोसिस्टम इज़ वेयर सारी सहूलियतें आपके आसपास हों। ये नहीं हो कि आप कहीं रह रहे हैं और इवन टू बाय अ ग्रोसरी, अब तो खैर ब्लिंकिट है, बट समटाइम्स पीपल वांट टू गो आउट एंड बाय देयर रेशंस, आपको आधा घंटा दूर जाना पड़ रहा है, या योर चाइल्ड इज़ कम्यूटिंग 1 hour फॉर हिज स्कूल, या कल को कोई मेडिकल इमरजेंसी हो जाए तो आपको 40 मिनट लग रहे हैं, बिकॉज ऑल दैट इज़ क्रिटिकल। सो दैट इज़ अबाउट द सराउंडिंग। अगर आप किसी कॉम्प्लेक्स में कंफर्टेबल हैं इन टर्म्स ऑफ ऑल अम्यूनिटीज़, स्टार्टिंग विद द सिक्योरिटी, विद बेसिक अम्यूनिटीज़ के the maintenance and all is being taken care of well in terms of water, electricity, landscaping, your elevators. You have amenities like a club to go and socialize with your neighbors or with your family or friends, and you have the sporting amenities available, a swimming pool which you can just go and do, or you can swim, or a gym जिसके लिए आपको 1 घंटा नहीं जाना, you can just go for half an hour and come back. Cafes around you, sometimes you want to socialize outside of your complex, तो वो सब बहुत important है. A primary example, I'll say, I think Nirvana country is a great example of that. Great community, very green, well taken care of, although it was designed in 2002, 2003. Markets around the place, good schools, good hospitals. You see the golf course road, how DLF has done the infrastructure, the ecosystem around a DLF place. Now, if you just say DLF, we're coming out with a project, whatever the location, the client has so much confidence that DLF will make that ecosystem accordingly.
True.
So, these are very important factors for a good project or a good ecosystem.
So Tarun, I have seen you, working in the NRI market as well, especially in the residential segment. What are the key differences when it comes to the domestic market buyer or NRI buyer? Do you see there is some difference in terms of expectations, or they all operate on same levels only?
The biggest differentiator is risk appetite. The risk appetite of a NRI client generally is much lower than a domestic customer. Secondly, the level of information what the NRI customer has, I feel the domestic customers are more active in that front because they're able to visit the site physically, whereas NRI customers are only reliant on social media or whatever virtual videos someone is sending them. But in terms of decision making, I think NRI customers are far more active. When we do roadshows with them, in case a client is serious, 5 out of 10 he will close the transaction there and then without even seeing the place.
Sit.
Personally. Whereas here, chances are, unless that FOMO has set in that, if they don't finalize today, the deal will not be available, they take some time here. So, risk appetite, level of knowledge, decision making, and in terms of pricing, NRI clients have a much more broader view, global view, and they understand how the economy is faring, what India can become, what Indian cities can become, because they have seen that in their cities where they live. So that you don't have to educate them on those terms. Once they realize that airports, roads, ports are coming, they are more than keen to be a part of the growth story.
True. Tarun, there is an emerging market for senior living, I think in the coming years. So you see a market for that segment, and what exactly is actually driving that market or that segment?
I think it's a great vertical to be in. Uh, See, the life expectancy is increasing in India, like the Western countries. I was reading somewhere that about we'll have very soon 60 million people above the age of 55, 60 in this country. uh, and those and they are wanting a good life. It's not that once they retire the life comes to an end or their requirements come to an end. Earlier senior living had a stigma attached that okay, if your kids are not able to take care, they are putting you in old age home. So senior living was old age home. Now it is very, very different. First of all, nuclear families has become the norm.
True.
10, 15 years back, joint families, at least in the northern part of the country, was the norm. But now nuclear families is the norm. So staying away from your kids is not a stigma, first of all. And now the parents also have their own lifestyle, their own circle. They don't want to be dependent only on their children or on their circle. They want their own independent lifestyle. They have their own requirements, their own preferences. Earlier, it used to be that the kids were putting their parents in old age homes. I think Antara changed all that in India by Max in Dehradun, at least the Dehradun center. Now, uh, I don't call them senior citizens, but people in the age group of 55, 60 are choosing such kind of homes for their stay maybe 5 years down the line or 6 years down the line. So now senior living, uh, maybe we'll have to change the nomenclature of senior living.
Yeah, yeah,
I
true.
don't call 60-year-old a senior person. I mean, he could be more active than a
Yeah.
50-year-old guy. Depends on how he's maintained his lifestyle. But they are opting for such places because, in case of an emergency, that project is equipped to handle it. But at the same time, offering them the same comforts what a normal project gives. So I think in the next 5 years, we'll have a huge demand for such projects.
You are right, actually. I think senior living is no more, perceived as a fallback option. I would say it is actually, the perception is actually changing towards a lifestyle choice now.
Yes.
So I think, as you rightly said, कि वृद्ध आश्रम जैसा उसको treat नहीं करना चाहिए. It is actually a lifestyle choice. Even at KREEVA, we are actually looking at conceiving something on multi-generational group housing concept, where all the generations can actually live together.
So, apart from demand from India, there's a huge demand from NRIs for senior living. Not only for their parents who are here, but for them also when they retire. Like once, once you end your profession in a country, it's very difficult to maintain that lifestyle. A lot of Indians will come back, so they are also scouting for such property. So huge demand. Congratulations to KREEVA if you're thinking on those lines.
Yeah.
I think it will be a great hit.
So, Tarun, from advisory perspective, as a how different is the decision making process जहाँ पर एक घर खरीदा जा रहा है जहाँ पर वो इन्फ्लुएंस करेगा सीनियर मेंबर भी को भी और एक यंगर मेंबर को भी जहाँ उनको साथ में रहना है तो हाउ डिफिकल्ट और हाउ डिफरेंट इज द डिसीजन मेकिंग प्रोसेस इन दैट सिनेरियो.
See, that's also a very, very difficult thing. Or normally we don't get into personal conversations in families. Our job is to educate them on the options available. ये थोड़ा टफ हो जाता है जहाँ पे there's a senior, there are parents who are above 60, 70 and they have their own requirements and the kids have their own requirements. A lot of times we have seen families opting for two options. कि एक पेरेंट्स के लिए और उसी के पास आसपास उनके लिए. बट वेयर दैट इज़ नॉट पॉसिबल, आई लीव इट टू द फैमिली टू डिसाइड व्हाट इज़ मोर इम्पोर्टेंट फॉर देम. एंड सीनियर लिविंग हैज़ देयर ओन लीगल रिक्वायरमेंट्स कि कौन रह सकता है कौन नहीं रह सकता. सो इट्स इंटायरली देयर कॉल ऑन दैट.
Very interesting question for me, at least. I actually asked to all my guests here. I will ask to you as well. So, Tarun, luxury as a term is actually one of the most overused terms today.
and abused.
and abused as well. So, from your perspective, what actually defines luxury real estate, at least in residential real estate?
See, you rightly said it's been overly used and abused. I think luxury, in my opinion, has three parameters. What we tell our clients: first is space, second is privacy, third is experience. Space means it should be actually spacious, the apartment, and so a lot of factors depend on that. The master bedroom should be good enough, the toilets, the kitchen. What's the point of calling it a luxury apartment and having a kitchen of 8 by 5? That's not luxury. The floor to ceiling height, people have 9 feet and they call it luxury. Now the trend is 12 feet, 13 feet, 11.5 feet at least. So luxury space, spacious balconies. So space is very, very important part of luxury. Privacy. I think you need to feel that although you're living in a condo, but you have all the privacy you need. It's like you're living in your own villa. Sometimes, not in Gurgaon, but in other cities, there are 16 apartments on a floor, and they call it luxury. I don't know how when there is so much, you know, noise and clutter all around you. So two apartments to a floor, or a single apartment to a floor, or four apartments to a floor, with proper elevators and no shared walls. That is luxury. So privacy is very important. When you're in your balcony, you are not looking into anyone else's apartment, or nobody is able to peep into your master bedroom. So that is again luxury. Then the experience, the entrance lobbies, the ease to park your car in the basement, the way you come up to your apartment, the concierge facility available, the club facilities, the kind of dining and other options in your club, the sporting amenities you have. So the experience of living also matters. So I think for me, these three parameters define luxury: space, privacy, and experience.
You're right. You rightly mentioned it. Tarun, there are a lot of formats which has actually evolved over the years, like luxury, senior living, corridor-based growth. तो आपको लगता है इन all because of all these formats एक रियल एस्टेट एडवाइजरी के ऊपर और एक ज़्यादा इम्पोर्टेंस आ गई है या उसकी उसका वैल्यू ज़्यादा बढ़ गया है या आपके ऊपर और ज़्यादा प्रेशर आ गया है क्योंकि अब आपको हर चीज़ समझानी पड़ेगी?
एब्सोल्युटली, मतलब जितने ऑप्शन होंगे आपको उतना नॉइस क्लियर करना पड़ेगा ना क्लाइंट के लिए. Client will read something and come to you. You have to again go back to the basics, understand what the requirement is,
True.
and give them curate options and give it to them. Advisory का रोल ट्रांजैक्ट करने का नहीं है, उनको पहले एडवाइस देने का है, and then leave it to them whether they want to transact or not. There has been instances with us where we have told the client not to go ahead because we thought it was not in their best interest. और 3 साल बाद उन्होंने आके हमें थैंक यू बोला है कि यार थैंक यू, आपने हमें मना किया उस समय. कौन करता है? So yes, see, all this comes with great responsibility. If you don't do it responsibly, it'll come back to bite you. आप आज कुछ गलत एडवाइस किसी को दोगे, कुछ नहीं छुपता मार्केट में. मार्केट बहुत ज़्यादा बड़ी है हम लोगों से. 3 साल में, 5 साल में it'll come back to bite you, and then you will lose that customer, and he will take 10 away from you. So we have to be very, very responsible towards our clients.
Very rightly said. तरुण, आपके हिसाब से एक सही डिसीजन क्या है रियल एस्टेट में? इज इट राइट प्राइस, राइट लोकेशन, राइट प्रोडक्ट, या उससे भी समथिंग मोर विच इज समथिंग मोर डीपर?
Something much more deeper. Glad you asked that. मेरे लिए राइट टाइमिंग, राइट प्राइस, राइट लोकेशन इंपॉर्टेंट नहीं होती. यू हैव टू अंडरस्टैंड कि जब 3 साल बाद आप उस डिसीजन को इन हिंडसाइट चेक करते हो, क्या वो ठीक था या नहीं था. तो यू हैव टू see your requirement 3 years, 5 years down the line, and then look at the location, the pricing, and the timing. अगर 3 साल बाद you are happy with that decision, I think it was a great decision.
Excellent. So Tarun, it was an insightful, meaningful discussion with you.
Thank
And
you.
it was great to have you here today at Retalks, Real Estate Talks. Thank you so much.
It was an honor to be here. Thank you, Ankur, and look forward to catching up again soon.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
I think what stands out from this conversation is one simple idea. Real estate is no longer about access to options, it's about clarity of thought. Because in a market full of choices, the real value comes from showing more. It comes from helping someone choose better. And that's where the role of advisory truly begins. Thank you, Tarun, for sharing your perspective and bringing that clarity into conversation. And to everyone listening, if this conversation made you pause, reflect, or rethink how decisions are made in real estate, then we are doing exactly what we set out to do. This is Real Estate Talks, where we go beyond listings and get into the thinking behind decisions. See you in the next episode.